Something you may wonder is if a coach isn't an expert, isn't a consultant or a teacher, if a coach isn't coming to teach me anything, if what works for me is actually within me, then what the heck do I need a coach for? I mean, why doesn't coaching myself work? Well, sometimes it does, kind of. There are whole schools of coaching, actually, that believe the goal with coaching is to help somebody become a person who can kind of coach themselves. It's not exactly the same, but we certainly can be a lot better partner to ourselves about the ongoings of life that seem to make us feel stuck. But there are some immediate reasons why one simply can't take a moment and coach oneself, not as effectively, not all the time, not reliably. And that's not to say that a coaching is a reliable solution, but it's far more reliable than setting out into the wilderness of our own minds without any experience coaching, trying to sort things out. People do it all the time. But I am of the opinion that getting a coach is far wiser. Here's why. There are 3 reasons why having a coach is a better plan than trying to self-coach. Here we go. 1, there are no right questions. Now, as a new coach, I'm subject to, how long can I call myself a new coach? I'm subject to a lot of coaches with advice around the right questions to ask. There are whole libraries of questions that are mineable for, the cool question to ask. But if you talk to enough coaches that have been around for a minute, they'll tell you that outside the basic framework of the conversation and certain questions that do tend to come up, like, what would you like to focus on today? The really important questions, the questions that dive deep into whatever the subject is, they're organic. They do obey some rules usually around being open-ended, but the subject matter and what we're trying to find through those questions arises in the given moment. So it would be hard to say, just ask yourself these 10 questions and you'll figure out what you want to do. It doesn't really work like that. Number 2, it's different when there's someone else asking the questions. We just have a different response when it's an externalized conversation where someone's asking us a question that we didn't premeditatively decide ourselves is the right next question to ask. I mean, it would be hard to know what the next right question is, and it's very likely we might try to pick the easier one to answer. Who knows? But it just doesn't work as well when we're asking ourselves the questions. And then the last one is that we tend to charm ourselves. I mean, we try to charm other people too, but in order to charm other people, we have to charm ourselves first. It kind of relates to the second point, which is if I'm able to think of a couple of questions, and I don't know how many questions deep I could go if I started trying to think of questions I should ask myself, I'm going to probably try to answer the easiest question to ask. There's a good chance this video will rub against some of our intuitions about what's possible, or maybe even something that someone has told us is possible. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that we can never be a good coach to ourselves. I'm saying that without experience, without a proven track record of coaching ourselves, it might be more wise to sit down with somebody else and let them do the coaching.